The gameplay reveal from Mafia Definitive Edition is finally out. It dropped a little early yesterday through suspicious means, but it's officially out thanks to IGN. And there's also an article from IGN we're going to go over. So we're going to check out some screenshots I took from the gameplay reveal. These are screenshots, not video 2K. So that's fair use. Just saying at the beginning. I'm not using video, just screenshots. So we're going to do a breakdown. We're going to go over the screenshots I took. I'm trying to keep it as non-spoilery as possible. I realize this is based off the 2002 Mafia City of Lost Heaven, but the way Hangar 13 should tackle this game is as if it's a brand new story, a brand new game, because a lot of people that are going to be playing Mafia Definitive Edition when it hopefully comes out September 25th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC probably never played the first Mafia game, and they don't want to be spoiled. So I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything. And if there are spoilers, they're minor spoilers. Okay, so first scene is Tommy Angelo just sitting in a car enjoying a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or maybe a little something else. I know it's the Prohibition era, but it's not like the cops are stopping everybody that's having a drink starting the day off. So I would speculate he's drinking coffee. He seems like a coffee guy to me. Next is the interior of what appears to be a bar. Once again, I am doing my best not to spoil things, but is it a bar? Is it a restaurant? It could be anything. But why would there be a bar in the 1930s with the Prohibition era? Because that's the main moneymaker for bars is the booze, the adult beverages. But still, a very pretty interior of this bar. Next is some artwork that was shown in the gameplay reveal. And in the front, I believe it's Tommy Angelo. And coming up beside him is, I guess, an early look of artwork for Paulie with the baseball bat. And behind him is Sam. Sam in the original had a bow tie. He was all about the bow tie. And that's apparently Tommy's cab car. I guess it had engine trouble. Next is a really up-close shot of the Tommy gun, which will be one of the main tools that Tommy will use throughout Mafia Definitive Edition. He's also wearing a nice suit, gloves, and tie. The gloves are a very good idea to keep them fingerprints from appearing throughout Lost Heaven. This was a pretty good up-close shot of a car just driving around, a lovely red vehicle, a four-door. And it's a pretty image. You have the sun shining, I guess the sun setting, reflecting on the red car. I just thought it was pretty. And now we'll go to another image of, I believe this is Oakwood. I think this is Oakwood. It's on the eastern side of the map. One of the nicer areas. Not the richest part of town, but I think this is what middle class, upper middle class, this section of Lost Heaven. And I think that's the Oakwood Church, if I'm not mistaken. Next is image of some power lines, some cable lines for the trolleys. This is the way cities looked back in the 1930s. If you go into a lot of modern cities now, you won't see all these lines because they're underground. But in the 1930s, this is how the lines ran until eventually the companies came in and they put them underneath the roads of the cities. And most cities today don't have trolley or tram lines. And this is a back alley in Lost Heaven. You can see it's a kind of lower class, I suppose. There's a hotel in the distance. And here's another image of, I think that might be a different hotel. Yeah, you can tell by the font that that's a completely different hotel than this hotel. This hotel might be a little bit nicer because I believe this is in the downtown region of Lost Heaven, and that is a different church than what we saw a moment ago. There's a smaller church in Oakwood, and this is the downtown Lost Heaven church, the big church, the big cathedral, and you have people walking on the streets. You have apparently a running trolley So that's one thing we were all hoping for, is that there would be actual running trolleys and train lines, just like in the original Lost Heaven. And you can also see a yellow taxi cab, which looks absolutely breathtaking. And it's going to be awesome to see the trains and the trolleys moving around the city of Lost Heaven in Mafia Definitive Edition. And here is the dockyard. You can clearly see water. You see a ship. You see some crates. You see a truck. You see cranes. A warehouse in the back. You see the sun setting. Clearly this is a dock. And another setting at night. You see downtown in the background with some skyscrapers. You know, early skyscrapers, 1930s. This could be Chinatown, because you can see the architecture of that one building right beside another hotel. So there's a few hotels scattered throughout Lost Heaven. And then further down the street, you see yet another hotel. And you also see billboards promoting the fictional brands of the Mafia universe. Because billboards were the thing. I mean, there was radio, so radio was a big deal. You had newspapers, but TV, I think, was still in its very early development. It hadn't become a household commodity for another decade or two at the earliest. There were theaters, and people would go watch movies, and usually at the beginning of the theater, the movie, before it started, you would have like these news breaks, like a 5-minute some odd news break where you would get the basic news going on nationally or internationally. But mostly it was newspaper and radio that you would see the information in news and adverts. But you would also have advertising by billboards, which are scattered throughout Lost Heaven. And this is a really cool shot. I believe this is also downtown near, let's see, the casino, the coffee house. And you have obviously a cab car, a cabbie getting out of his cab car at night. You see a statue over there, some buildings in the background, what appears to be a park. And it's Tommy Angelo. He's the cab driver, and that is his cab car. And it's the Depression era, and times are tough, and a lot of people that were working were just happy to have a job back then, because there were a lot of folks that were unfortunately unemployed and relying on handouts, soup kitchens, and whatnot. So Tommy is one of the few that actually had some money. Obviously, he's having himself a lovely break with probably the Big Break brand, most likely. And here's a shootout. Now, the reason why there's a blur is because I'm trying to do screenshots, and sometimes when it comes to screenshots, they don't come out as good, so I do apologize for that. So this is a high-speed chase at night with some, I'm guessing, the Salieri's versus the Morellos. Those are the two crime families that run Lost Heaven, and you're obviously on the side of the Salieri's. I'm putting in minor spoilers. Some of you probably already are aware of that. And here is Tommy Angelo in his cabbie outfit. And they're in Little Italy, because you can see an Italian flag in the background. So this is Little Italy, where the Salieri bar happens to be, where you will find Don Salieri. And that gentleman standing next to Tommy is Paulie. You will learn more about Paulie throughout the events of Mafia Definitive Edition. And here's another shot, and this appears to be later on in the game, also with Tommy and Paulie. They become really good friends, by the way. And here's an image of Don Salieri and Tommy, I believe that's Tommy, going to, I guess, a restaurant. I guess they're going to go have a breakfast, a brunch perhaps, or maybe a lunch. And Don Salieri seems to be in a pretty good mood. Next is an image of, let's see, I believe this is everybody, well, the main core of the Salieri crime family. You have Don Salieri. I think this is inside the garage behind the Salieri bar. You have Paulie. He's standing on the box. You have Tommy. Tommy, I think, is Tommy to the left? That might be Tommy to the left, but to the right, camera right, closer to Don Salieri is Sam. So the boys are hanging out with Don Salieri. appears to be in the garage behind the Salieri bar, having a lovely conversation and another break. And here's another image that you may have seen already from, I think, the narrative trailer of Don Salieri. And behind him is his consigliere Frank. And another image of Frank in a later scene. I believe it's raining. Why else would you have the umbrella? Unless you're a member of the Umbrella Academy. By the way, Season 2 is coming up in a few weeks. I'm excited about that. And this is Ralph, the mechanic. So he's the one that's going to be working on your cars that you get throughout Mafia Definitive Edition. Hopefully we'll have some customization for exterior, interior, maybe some upgrades we can do for the cars. And here is our weapons guy. And he's cleaning some nice baseball bats. Probably a lovely game of baseball. Maybe there's various baseball teams that you can be part of. And I think this is going to be probably a match between the Salieri team and the Morello team. A lovely baseball game. Yes, baseball. One of the mini melee weapons you'll be able to acquire. And there's also going to be some First Amendment tools as well at your disposal. Next is another shootout that transpires in the gameplay reveal. Another image of Tommy with the Tommy gun shooting at some people that were probably going to shoot back at him. So you could just say this was practically some self-defense. And there are obviously explosive barrels at your disposal that you can use for some further Michael Bay action, if you will. And this is the aftermath of the explosion. And those guys that were coming after you, they're probably, almost well done, maybe a little burnt. That car, though, I think it's probably going to be scrap. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be able to put that on the pre-owned or used market. And here's a chase through Lost Heaven. Early on in the game, I believe, you have several bars in the background. Obviously, it's nighttime, so you have them lit up. And this cab car is clearly being chased by another car for some odd reason. Maybe, just maybe, the cab driver didn't take somebody where they wanted to go. Or maybe they're being stopped from being taken somewhere. That's a very good question, and in the efforts of not spoiling anything, I'll just leave it at that. And here is a lovely trip to the art gallery, a beautiful art gallery, but even sometimes at the art gallery, things can get a little hairy when you're having a discussion about Van Goghs and Picassos and having a debate. Sometimes things just spiral out of control, as you may have noticed with Tommy Angelo, these two gentlemen, and a nice pump action that Tommy just happened to bring with him to the art gallery. And here's some really good images of some of the nicer cars you might be able to acquire in Mafia Definitive Edition, along with this car. This looks good as well. I'm guessing with the license plates very similar to, I guess, Mafia 2. Hopefully we'll be able to customize the license plates, because I think in Mafia 3 we had different types of license plates we could unlock. But if I recall, I don't think we were able to actually customize specific license plates. But we did have a variety of choices to choose from. And I think this is also, once again, in the downtown area. I think that's like a federal building in the background, I believe. And here's something that interested me that I wanted to include, is the car encyclopedia, which was in Mafia Lost Heaven. I did make a video featuring the car encyclopedia a week or two ago. And there's some information here we can go over real quick. For one thing, it says 53 out of 53 owned. That implies that we're going to use the car encyclopedia possibly as a place to show off the vehicles that Tommy Angelo has acquired or purchased or unlocked. And it says test drive, so you'll be able to take these vehicles on a test drive. I guess maybe test drive might be their version of free roam. You'll be able to cycle through the vehicles, quote-unquote, owned in the car encyclopedia. You'll be able to toggle between the exterior and the interior colors. So I guess there is exterior, interior options for these vehicles. And you also see the stats of the vehicle and the fact that this is a Lassiter, a V16 Apollyon, and definitely a very, very powerful car. It's probably going to be pretty rare on the streets of Lost Heaven. But as of this image, one of at least 53 vehicles you'll be able to own or feature in the encyclopedia. So I'm interested to see if we can actually have up to 53 or more cars for Tommy to customize and drive around with in the game. So that's the encyclopedia, updated from the original version from Mafia, the City of Lost Heaven. This is a little scuffle that happens between, I believe, Tommy and some guys. They get in a little argument, and unfortunately a little fight breaks out. Now, something that Hangar 13 has mentioned a few times, President Hayden Blackman, is that unlike Lincoln Clay or Vito, which had military experience, Tommy Angelo does not have military experience. He's just a cabbie. He's just a regular guy. So don't expect him to be as tough as Vito or as OP as Lincoln Clay was in Mafia 3. And motorcycles is one of the new things that's being added to Mafia Definitive Edition. This is the first time we've ever actually had motorcycles in the Mafia-verse. It would have been really cool if Lincoln Clay had a big hog in Mafia 3. He did have a biker outfit, but what's the point if you don't have a motorcycle to wear it with? But here's a it's not downtown, but there's obviously a lot of stuff going on. Cars zooming about the place with Tommy on a motorcycle. You have a running trolley as well, so you're going to have to be mindful of the trolleys when you're driving around Lost Heaven, especially on the motorcycles. I'm very interested to see how the motorcycles will handle and perform because, like I mentioned, this is the first time we've ever seen motorcycles in a Mafia game. Next is a lovely little shootout that Tommy is having with some wise guys. And clearly there's been some damage to one of the cars. It looks like there was an explosion possibly. And the guy that's about to take a dirt nap, or is already in the process of heading to the dirt, he's clearly lost that little 1v1 versus Tommy and his 1911. And that Tommy gun is about to hit the ground. So it looks like a bit of a shootout is commencing in this on this street. Next is another exciting shootout between Tommy and some foes, and this appears to be inside of a garage. And this appears to be probably inside the Lost Heaven Church, where once again shootouts seem to occur on a regular basis. You can't go to an art gallery or a garage or even a church without getting into a shootout in this game. Wow. And here's a racing. Yes, we have memories of racing in Mafia City of Lost Heaven, and to be honest, they weren't very good. Now, to Illusion's credit, the original name of the developers, who are now part of Hangar 13, they did put out a patch for that game, which added difficulty levels for the race. But originally, there were no difficulty levels, and you had to get first place in order to win. It was a pain, but hopefully the racing will be a lot more enjoyable in Mafia Definitive Edition. It definitely looks cool. And here is where Hayden Blackman, who narrates this, president of Hangar 13, they show a little bit of gameplay of one of the stories you will do, one of the missions in Mafia Definitive Edition. So once again, I'm going to do my best not to spoil this for you. So obviously Polly and Tommy, they pull up in a truck, and the cinematics look pretty good for the most part, and they've apparently arrived out of the city. This definitely doesn't look like Lost Heaven, so it's on the outskirts, it's at night, it's cloudy, it's storming, it's raining, and it looks really eerie. And you have the first image of the radar, the mini-map, which is going to be at the bottom right-hand screen. It definitely looks better than the radar we had in the original Mafia game. And you have the objective in the top left-hand corner. You have access to 2 weapons, I guess, at a time. So unlike Grand Theft Auto Online or like Grand Theft Auto 5, where you have a whole arsenal at your disposal, this is more similar to Mafia 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Online, where Tommy is going to be limited to the firearms at his disposal. Currently, he has a pump-action shotgun as well as a 1911. and there will be collectibles. So inside this shed, you find some cigarettes, and that's how you're able to find the cigarette cards. And unfortunately, my mug is covering up one of the cards, so I do apologize about that. And here's another image at night. Obviously, it's dark, it's raining, and the screenshots they don't really do the scene justice. I would recommend going to watch it, but it definitely looked really good. And so Tommy Angelo is approaching a truck. So it looks like the minimap is pretty helpful in letting you know where you need to go. There's a little icon, a diamond icon that's gold. And also, once again, the indicator letting you know what you need to do in the top left-hand corner. And here's an image of Tommy Angelo, all CGI'd and mocapped. And here is when a shootout commences. You'll be able to take cover in the game, and that's definitely something I think is a positive for Mafia Definitive Edition, because you didn't exactly have that option in the original game. And here's the interior of a building where Tommy's just walking around, and as you can tell now, Tommy has 2 Molotovs on him. So you will have, along with 2 firearms, you'll also have the ability to pick up and use throwables like Molotovs. And clearly now Tommy is, the main weapon he has in his hand is his 1911, but he's also traded in his pump-action shotgun for a Tommy gun, which has 50 rounds in the drum and an additional 100, whereas in the magazine of the 1911, it holds 7 rounds because that's what a 1911 holds, and he has an additional 28 rounds at his disposal. And if you look at the mini-map, you see green little dots, which indicate allies, and then the little white plus signs indicate first aid kits. And once again, you'll be able to actually take cover in Mafia Definitive Edition. And there'll be ammo boxes, like ammunition boxes. Well, ammunition. Ammunition is GTA, but ammunition boxes where you'll be able to, I guess, pick up more ammo, which are, I guess, they're conveniently scattered around the various maps of Mafia Definitive Edition. Well, that's very considerate to have those boxes. I don't know if you're going to be able to actually run over dead bodies. Like, I mean, literally, like, walk over them like Leaking Clay would and pick up money as well as ammo. I don't even know if Tommy is going to have money, because in the original Mafia game, you never really had money. Like, you were trying to make money for the crime family, but you never got money to spend it on anything. But in Mafia 2 and 3, obviously you have money to purchase things with. Hopefully, Tommy will have money in some form of currency, as well as things to spend it on, maybe vehicle upgrades, a customization, and maybe some other options too, money-wise. And here's another shootout outside in the what appears to be a farm. There's an old tractor. There's hay. There's wood fences. There's fire. There's bullets flying by, and obviously Tommy is having to reload. And now he's inside another building where you can see a red barrel, which you'll be able to use for setting off explosives if you want to. It's always best to use those strategically whenever there happens to be a few baddies near it. And there's an image down at the bottom you can see where there's a first aid kit. We'll see a couple more images of the first aid kit in just a moment. And the radar, I guess the red circle indicates that there's enemies around. The red dots are obviously enemies as well within the mini radar. And also another thing I want to talk about, underneath the Tommy gun image where you have the weapons, you also now have a red bar. And you can see that there's a little bit of the red bar missing, which implies that this is where you'll be able to gauge Tommy's health in shootouts. And I don't think his health is going to regen. It did not regen in Mafia City of Lost Heaven, and that's why you always had to find a first aid kit in order to get your health back up. And now Tommy's clearly on the ground, so he went from the top to the bottom, and he's trying to take out somebody that's trying to climb up a ladder, as well as the rest of these guys that are shooting at Tommy. And here, clearly, Tommy has taken some damage. You can see the blood around the image of the screenshot. That will let you know that you've been hit. And you can also tell by the health meter on the bottom left-hand corner that Tommy's health has gotten worse, which is why it's very important to know where your nearest convenient first aid kit happens to be. Fortunately, there's one right in front of Tommy, but unfortunately, he has a couple guys and shooting at him, preventing him from getting to that first aid kit. And there's also more first aid kits inside this particular building. So you'll be able to run over there and improve Tommy's health with that first aid kit to the left and get more ammo with an ammunition box to the right. And unfortunately, Tommy's friend just can't crawl over there to that first aid kit. Maybe if he could, then he wouldn't be hurting right now. So that's really on him. So another shootout is now happening outside, and it's raining. So another image that looks way better in video than screenshot. I do apologize for that. There's a couple of potentially explosive barrels right there, and this appears to be the Lost Heaven police. And another shootout is breaking out. So quite a few shootouts during this one mission. And now there is a chase happening. So you see a new bar in the middle, which indicates the health of the truck. So the objective of this is pretty simple. I mean, you've probably seen this in plenty of other missions where you're trying to get away from the pursuers, and you have to make sure that you get away with some health still left in the vehicle, as well as yourself, because it's also Tommy's health that's at stake. And the mission here has given Tommy infinite ammo. You have the infinity sign underneath the ammo icon, the bullets. So that means you have as much ammo as possible in the Tommy gun as you're being pursued by the Lost Heaven Police Department. So you're still defending the truck here. They're shooting at you. You're shooting back. And I was trying to get an image of not only the squad cars chasing you, but if you look to the left of this squad car, you also see a motorcycle. So not only will you be able to use a motorcycle, the Lost Heaven Police Department will also be able to use a motorcycle as well. And it makes total sense to drive around in a motorcycle when it's raining and storming. That just makes sense. Lost Heaven PD. And here's another awesome screenshot during the daytime. And you have a cab going by, you have some cars, you have the sun in the background. The skybox does look better for Mafia Definitive Edition than it did for Mafia 3, so that is definitely a pro in my opinion. It is the same engine. It's just an upgraded version of the Mafia 3 engine. And there's a trolley also going by as well in the background. And another image of the race mission. So yeah, you will have to do a race mission. But like I said, hopefully it'll be a lot more tolerable and enjoyable than the original version of this race. And here is a plane that's suffering some engine trouble, I believe. And that's so sad. Where's my violin? Oh, I don't have a violin. And here's some, didn't really show that much driving. Maybe they're going to use that in a future gameplay video. But a lot of this was just showing the city and Tommy, Sam, Polly, Frank, some of the others. And there really wasn't much information here when it came to the driving in the game. I mean, we saw a few cars. We saw the car encyclopedia. But here's an image of a car driving at night. It's foggy. It's wet. We're about to drive by a restaurant. It looks really good, even though the screenshot really, once again, doesn't do it enough justice. And another image of the Lost Heaven skyline at night. So those are all the screenshots I took. And once again, 2K, Hangar 13, those are screenshots, not video. Please do not give me a copyright claim. Now we're going to go over this article from IGN. The article, the video, both linked below in the description section. So we're going to have a read from Ryan McCaffrey. He interviewed Hangar 13 President Hayden Blackman. Mafia Definitive Edition gameplay revealed. Developer gives new remake details. 2K and developer Hangar 13 have revealed gameplay footage of Mafia Definitive Edition from the ground-up remake of the original Mafia from 2002. Mafia 1 Remake will be released on September 25th for $40 or as part of the $60 Mafia trilogy, which also includes remastered, not fully remade versions of Mafia 2 and Mafia 3. The latter is now available. What he means by that is, if you get it through the Mafia trilogy, you get 3 games for $60, and you can play Mafia Definitive Edition in September whenever it downloads, so it's download only for Mafia trilogy. I think there'll be a hard copy of Mafia Definitive Edition when it comes out. I hope that is. So that would be something collectors may want. Or gamers that prefer actually having physical discs of their games. But Mafia Trilogy is downloadable for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. And if you purchase it for $60, you already get Mafia 2 Definitive Edition as well as Mafia 3 Definitive Edition. Plus, through the Mafia Trilogy, as I've mentioned in previous videos, there are loyalty packs where you'll be able to get access to outfits of all 3 protagonists, as well as 3 vehicles for all 3 games. So for Mafia Definitive Edition, Tommy will get access to outfits worn by Vito, as well as Lincoln, as well as a car Vito drives in Mafia Definitive Edition, a sports car from the 1950s era. Yeah, 1950s era sports car driving around Lost Heaven. That makes sense. So does the Drifter, Lincoln Clay's muscle car from Mafia 3. So you'll be able to drive around the Drifter from Mafia 3 and Mafia Definitive Edition by purchasing the Mafia Trilogy. And once again, hopefully Mafia Definitive Edition comes out in September on the 25th. So it's not downloadable until it officially releases. The new 14-minute video shows you the complete rebuild Hangar 13 undertook, with assistance from some of the original developers at 2K Czech, originally Illusion Softworks. Ryan sat down with Hangar 13 president Hayden Blackman to ask him about the studio approach to the revival of this well-loved but almost 20-year-old game. And in the trailer, the reveal, Hayden Blackman narrated it, and he talked about how much love was put into this passion project. And you have developers that worked on Mafia 3 as well as Mafia 2. And there's even developers that worked on the original Mafia game that have been putting together the works, the touches on Mafia Definitive Edition. So it definitely was a passion project for Hangar 13. Ryan asked Blackman about the impetus for this project, seeing as how we're still 2 years away from Mafia's 20th anniversary. He said it was a matter of timing on a less obvious way. Quote, "It was a pitch that came from the team. We have a number of people on the team who worked on the original Mafia and saw it as a good opportunity as we were bridging the gap between Mafia 3 and the next project they're working on." Which implies that they are working on a sequel to Mafia 3, as was rumored. Some leaked information about that came out a while back. So if it's bridging something, that means that the next game after Mafia Definitive Edition will potentially be Mafia 4, possibly. Let's see. So was it originally planned as a full-blown remake or just a remaster? Let's see. Quote, "A full-up remake was the original pitch," he said. "I think that once we got into it, though, we kind of started looking at things that we could do. It became a little more than we originally anticipated. It's not a shot-for-shot remake. However, quote, we knew from the onset that the core narrative would hold up well. There weren't giant plot holes that we had to shore up. Mission flow, number of missions we knew would hold up." By the way, there's going to be over 20 missions in Mafia Definitive Edition. In case you were wondering how many missions there were going to be, there's 20 plus. The tone, essential themes and setting, the Prohibition era. We knew that all these things that were going to hold up. Then we started looking at the next layer that was said needed to take things to the modern standards. The way in which the story, the quality of the cinematics, the representation of certain characters. I wish there was a dark mode. Blackman cites the tweaks made the story to give the main character, Tommy Angelo's wife, Sarah, more than a literal one scene that she had in the original game in service of Tommy's family-driven motivations and Mafia's story, which is regarded as one of the strongest aspects. The driving model has also been updated to give players more freedom, literally, as speed limits were enforced in the in-game police. In Mafia Definitive Edition, you'll have the option to use a new driving model or stick with the version from the original game. We're trying to cater to new fans, but also let the existing fans know that we knew that that was important to them. So you'll be able to either abide by the speed limit, or you can have that switched off depending on how you wish to drive around in Mafia Definitive Edition. To be honest, for some missions, I really wish the speed limit was disabled because it makes doing the missions even more difficult when you also have to worry about the Lost Heaven police chasing you down. Let's see, the driving model has also been updated to give the players a lot more freedom. Okay, we went over that already. The streets are also wider, and the layout of Lost Heaven has been tweaked slightly in order to give more visible waypoints for the player, and choice also fueled by the fact that draw distance are much greater now than they were in 2002, thanks to the power of modern hardware. All of this is in the service to the core story and the underlying gameplay. The way Mafia 1 originally worked, there were a lot of bespoke gameplay sequences that were very specific to that specific mission, Blackman added. So we wanted to continue that and make sure that we had gameplay sequences that felt true to the original, but also have underlying mechanics that were really solid. So we brought in a lot of cover shooting mechanics from Mafia 3 and polished those even further. Finally, Ryan asked Blackman about the tech side of things from the ground up remake. It's built on the Mafia 3 engine as its foundation, but we continued to make improvements to it. For instance, the team adding the new lighting model and environmental audio. As of the next-gen versions, what's this releasing on the eve of the next-gen console release, Blackman said. There's nothing we can talk about right now, but it's definitely something we're looking at. He said that Mafia Definitive Edition will run compatible mode on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So it looks like Mafia Definitive Edition might be forwards compatible from PlayStation 4, Xbox One to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X at the very least. So they could always go back and do some minor upgrades to Mafia Definitive Edition when next-gen launches are somewhere down the road. So once again, this article linked below in the description section, along with the gameplay reveal. And I'm curious as your thoughts, your views, and opinions regarding the images that we went over today. I tried to keep it very low on the spoils as possible because I feel like that they need to do a better job of not spoiling things from the game. I know it's mostly based off the 2002 original version of Mafia City of Lost Heaven, but there's a lot of players out there that are going to be playing this game for the very first time. Some of us are veterans, but I'm trying to be considerate of new players to Mafia Definitive Edition because most of them are coming into the story, and it's always best when it comes to a video game story or a TV series or a movie to have as little spoilers as humanly possible. So that's just something that I would say is a small critique. But at the same time, the music was absolutely awesome throughout the scenes that they showed. The shootouts at the farm, it looked and sounded great. And it doesn't surprise me that it was going to be on the Mafia 3 engine. They've mentioned that for a while now. And that there are similarities between Mafia 3 and Mafia Definitive Edition. There's collectibles that are going to be available, such as the wanted posters, the cigarette cards. And there's going to be fleshed out interactions and stories with characters that didn't get as much time, like Sarah, Tommy's love interest from the original game. So that's good. Hopefully it works well with what they're planning with Mafia Definitive Edition when it hopefully launches coming up on September 25th, 2020 for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, as well as PC. Your thoughts, your views, and opinions regarding Mafia Definitive Edition, which is coming very soon, about 2 months away, hopefully. What did you take from the gameplay reveal? What are some things I may have missed out on? What are some things you liked? What are some things you're concerned about? What are some other things you're hoping to see in maybe a future gameplay reveal, maybe revolved around the driving in the game, and maybe vehicle upgrades, potentially, and whatnot. Your thoughts, your views, and opinions regarding the gameplay reveal, the information that we got so far, as well as what you're hoping to see in a future gameplay reveal for Mafia Definitive Edition. Welcome below in the comments section.